Today I have an alteration video for you. We're going to be hemming some pants that have a cuff at the bottom. But this isn't a normal cuff. It looks like a normal cuff, but you can see it's a fake cuff. You can see if you pull it down like that, it's not a real cuff. So it's hemmed in a normal way, and then it's just kind of pushed up. So I'm going to hem these pants. I'm going to get this fake cuff back on, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, let's go. So here's the cuff that is intact the way it came. This side I've already started. So when I had the customer here, I marked this is where she wants the pants to end when we're all done. But we want to keep this fake cuff intact. So what I did to start is I ripped out all of this on the other leg, and then inside here I found a 1/2 inch little hem. So I did that. That's inside here. So then what I did, and if you're doing this from a pair of pants that like you're making them from scratch and you want to put this fake cuff in, basically what you want to do is go a 1/2 inch longer than where you want the pants to truly end, and that is where you're going to fold up the cuff. Don't press it, just pin it and then stitch it down. So that's what I did here. So I didn't press it, it's still all whatever, but I just took that amount and I folded it up, I stitched it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pinch this upper layer and we're just going to lift it up above this stitching line. So we're going to pinch here and we're going to lift this up above that stitching line. We're going to make sure it's a 1/2 inch all the way. If we measure from this fold to this fold that's within here that we're creating, 1/2 inch, that's going to make the length of the pants 1/2 inch higher, and that's what we want. So when you look at the pants how they came, this is what they've done. So they stitched it down, there's the stitch, and then they lifted and they pulled this up. And then they pressed here, and then they pressed here, and then they put a little tacking stitch over here to keep that. So that's what we're going to do. I measured the amount the customer wanted removed from the pants, and it was 2.5 inches. So I cut off this piece that was 2.5 inches. So next I'm going to go to the ironing board and put back in the little 1/2 inch first turn of the hem. Okay, so now that this little 1/2 inch cuff is pressed in, we're ready to do the next part. So I forgot to record this part, but I measured how big the cuff was, how much they turned it up, and it was 3 1/4 inches. So where that old stitch was, if you then pulled it down to smooth it, and how big it measured from bottom up to stitch. So not when the fake cuff was intact, but if you pulled it down, exposed that stitch, and measured actually on not just from the stitch, but where the cuff folded all the way up, so a little bit higher than the stitch. From there down, it was 3 1/4. So that's what we're going to do. First, I'm just going to get all these old creases out. Okay, so now this is the part that's a little bit weird. Normally when we press up a cuff, we press it, then we pin it, then we sew it. But what we're going to do is pin it up and don't press it. Sew it and then press it in a different way. So we're going to take this edge and we're going to bring it up your seam line along your seam line here, and we're going to look for 3¼ inches. Okay, so right there. Pin it up here. We're going to stitch up here, but we don't want to press this edge because this edge is going to move. Let's go to the other seam line here. Make it 3¼ pin it. And do that a couple more times around. Okay, so we're going to stitch it and then we're going to pull it up to make that little fake cuff. Okay, we're just going to use a regular straight stitch and we're just going to sew all the way around this leg, starting at one of the side seams. And we're just going to stay close to that folded pinned edge that we have there. I'm just going to stay right about here. Okay, you put your pressure foot down, get your pin out of the way. Try to stay as close to that upper fold as possible because we have to, remember, cover this stitch. Okay, I'm up at the ironing board and I'm going to do what we just said. I'm going to pinch, only getting the outer layer, and I'm going to estimate what I think is about it, going to be 1/2 inch, and I'm going to lift this up over that line that we stitched. Okay, now I'm going to take my ruler and insert it till it stops, and it stops right at the 1/2 inch, and that's what I want. So that means my little groove is 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do this all the way around. I'm going to put some pins, and then we're going to press it. So let's move over here to the seam. So I'm lifting, being careful to only get the outer layer, and I'm lifting my new little fold up over the stitching line. Now I'm going to insert this. See that it stops right at 1/2 inch. Perfect. Hold that, grab a pin, stick it in there, and secure it. So then all we'll have to do once we make it around is press it and do 2 little tacking stitches at those seams. It's actually a pretty cool idea. Never thought to do a cuff like this. It really reduces the bulk down at the bottom of the pants. It's just like a normal hem. Oops, that's a little too far, so I'm gonna take my fold in closer to the stitching line like that. Still a touch too far. I just kind of roll it towards me, up over, and that's better. Okay, now we can press it. So you'll press up here first, and then you'll smooth downward to get the bottom as well. I'm just going to use this pressing cloth to avoid damaging the pants since I am on the outside of them. I just don't want to risk it. Okay, looks pretty good. So now all we have to do is copy those little tacking stitches right down here in the seam on either side, and that will hold our cuff in place. And I'm just going to start up here about 1/2 inch below where that fold is. Press your foot down, and I'm going to stitch right in the ditch of that seam. Go pretty much to the top or just beyond the top of that little fold, and then backstitch. And forward. And back. So now we can remove our pins, and you can see that we have this nice fake cuff here. So I think the last thing I will do is I will fold along that center crease so that that crease is still in the cuff here, and I'll press that. So I'm just going to take the pants and fold the leg in half along that crease. We got a crease here and a crease down here. Oops, got one more pin. Okay, and I'm just gonna put the pressing cloth over it. And press that crease into the cuff as well. So there you have it, friends. That is how you make your pants have a fake cuff, and that is how you hem them like that. So I hope you try out this method sometime. If you do, leave me a comment, let me know how it goes. And if you like this, please give my video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.